How's it going, guys? Welcome to Q. That's the name of the channel. Now you're probably wondering, what is that from? Where did I come up with that? It's just my name. It's my first name. It's my full first name. It's just the letter Q. And the worst part is I have no explanation for that. So yes, I have to explain it every day to somebody, and I have no explanation. But yeah, it comes up every single day. It's a good conversation starter. But that's what I decided to call my channel. I think it's a good name, hopefully. And if you're wondering about the logo, if you've been around for a while, you know that my channel name originally was Zero, and I changed it to Q. I'm a huge Smashing Pumpkins fan, so it came from that. And plus, it's just a cool name. And so there's a logo that Billy Corgan sometimes uses with a zero like that, and I flipped it around to where it's also similar to a Q. So I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. And I try to make it silver, so I really like that logo. I hope you like it too. Today I'm going to talk about 3 albums that I didn't quite get at first, but I eventually grew to love. Now, these are classic albums, so you might be thinking, like, how did you not like these? I don't get it. Yeah, I don't know either, but they didn't hit me at first. And then after a while, I'm like, wow, these are amazing. So I'll get into that. But yeah, the first one actually has to do with the Smashing Pumpkins. It is the ultimate classic, Siamese Dream. Now, my story with this album is interesting. A long time ago on my iPod Touch, I had that, I think it was Rock Band. It wasn't Guitar Hero, it was Rock Band. They had an app, a little game, and one of the songs on there was Cherub Rock, and I loved that song. And I knew it was from the 90s. I was probably like, what, 14 years old? I knew it was from the 90s, but I didn't really know who the Smashing Pumpkins were, to be honest. I loved the song, but I just didn't know anything about them. I was too young. And so eventually, when I started getting into the Smashing Pumpkins, I'm trying to think how I got into them again. I'm not sure, but it was like in 2019, I guess. It's probably a little earlier than that. But I started listening to Gish, and I was just like, wow. It just blew my mind. Like, it was just exactly the type of music I want to hear. And so I got Gish, and I love that album. I love the whole album. And then I was like, all right, I got to get Siamese Dream. And so, it's funny because there was one time I used to go to Goodwill's and just find all kinds of CDs. And one time I went and there was a bunch of 90s CDs. Like, someone must have dropped off a bunch of CDs, and they were like all from the 90s. Nirvana, I think there was Soundgarden, uh, there was Smashing Pumpkins, there was Siamese Dream, and then I decided not to get it because I just didn't know enough about it. So I feel so stupid that I could have gotten it back then for like $2. But I eventually got it at another Goodwill. But by then I already knew that I already had known that I wanted it. So, but yeah, I regret that. But at the same time, I don't think that I might have appreciated it as much if I had gotten it back then. So everything happens for a reason, right? But yeah, there's also Pearl Jam. I think that time that I went, I got 10 from Pearl Jam for the first time. And I had heard about them. I wanted to listen to them, but I hadn't gotten an album from them. So that was the first time. So that was a good score. I'm glad I went that day. And I love that album too. I love 10, but I liked it from the very beginning. So also, none of these albums I'm going to talk about today are albums that I ever hated or didn't like. I just didn't quite get it at first. They didn't really hit me. So I loved all these albums at first. I remember thinking, oh, these are pretty good, but it didn't hit me as they do now. So anyway, with Cherub Rock, I eventually finally listened to it, or not Cherub Rock, Siamese Dream. I eventually finally listened to it all the way through, and obviously Cherub Rock, I had already known that song, and it's amazing. I mean, how can you not love that song? It's classic Smashing Pumpkins. Um, and I guess the problem is I was expecting the rest of the album to be like that, and it's really not. I guess the other songs just aren't quite as succinct as that one. Um, and I think you know what I mean. They're kind of long and progressive. So Cherub Rock was obviously, I'm pretty sure it was a single. So it was. I was just expecting the album to be like that, and in certain parts it is. So I remember on the first few listens, like, all right, there's certain parts like in Silverfuck and Geek USA. There were different, like there are some hard hitting parts, but there wasn't. I just remember feeling a little bit disappointed. I'm not sure what I was expecting, but I just felt disappointed. And so I was like, this is good, but I can't say it's better than Gish. Now, at this point, I hadn't heard Melancholy because I like to, if I'm listening to an artist and I haven't listened to stuff, I like going in chronological order. So I don't think I had heard Melancholy yet, but yeah, I just couldn't say it was better than Gish. It was good, but it wasn't better than Gish. But then I'm not sure what happened, but I listened to it again and again and again, and eventually it finally hit me that it's literally one of the most classic albums of all time, one of my favorite albums. And I do have to put it above Gish and above Melancholy. I'm pretty sure because there are no bad songs. It's good from start to finish. I really, really, really fell in love with Hummer. That was the song that kind of made it click for me. And then also at the very end, you have Luna and Sweet Sweet, or Sweet Sweet and then Luna, I guess. Gosh, it's so weird that they can end an album like that on those songs, even though the songs fit, but they're just a little bit different from what you expect in a way. They're just so dreamy and fun. The whole album is so good from start to finish. Now, the only other thing is that I have an idea for some videos in the future where uh, I change the track list of certain albums, and I think that I would change the track list on Siamese Dream. I think that Disarm is placed a little bit in the wrong spot. I just think the track list could be a little bit better, but at least in the middle. But I'll make that video another time. It'll be fun. But anyway, yeah, it's a classic album. How could you not love Siamese Dream? Just every time you hear it, it just takes you right back to the 90s. And I was alive in the 90s. I was born in 96, but so I remember a little bit of that vibe, but not much. But yeah, it just instantly transports you to another world, and I love it. All right, so the next album is, now this is a little bit more recent. I listened to this a little bit pretty recently. Dude Ranch by Blink-182. It is a classic album, and it's funny that it didn't hit me that much at first. I mean, I liked it. When I first heard it, I liked it, especially the first 2 or 3 songs. And I had already heard Damn It, so, I was familiar with that song, but it didn't hit me that well because I had already heard it. And I think it's also one of the weakest tracks, to be honest. But yeah, I listened to the whole thing and it all just kind of sounded the same. Now, that happens with a lot of albums. But I was just kind of thinking, there's some good riffs in there, there's some good moments, but nothing really, made me think like, wow, this is amazing. Um, and I also probably didn't really know how highly regarded Dude Ranch is, so it was something. It just didn't hit me. It's the same with Siamese Dream. I knew it was popular, but it just didn't hit me. So it was the same thing, but I gave it more chances. Obviously, I mean, I wanted to listen to it, but I listened to it again and again and again, and I just started realizing that holy crap, every single song, pretty much. I mean, I'm trying to think. Obviously, the second half of the album is a little bit not as good, but pretty much every song is amazing. Probably my favorite would be Dick Lips. It's so good. I mean, how could you not love it? Um, the melodies that Tom DeLonge writes are just amazing. Now, I will say that it's funny because when I go on Wikipedia and I was like trying to see, who wrote which songs, because I was like, I wonder, of all these songs that I like on the album, I'm pretty sure, like, I just knew that, all right, I'm pretty sure Tom had to write these and Mark had to write those. And I was right. Like, every song that I prefer was from Tom DeLonge, and the songs I wasn't as high about were from Mark. But just even now, like, in the last few days, the more I listen to it, every single song has its place and is really good, and I just enjoy every single part of every song. So it's a classic album. And that album also takes you back to the 90s, but in a different way than Siamese Dream. But man, it just makes you feel so nostalgic, even though I didn't even listen to that music back then, because I haven't, for whatever reason, I've tried to get into Blink-182 before, but it just didn't hit me. But recently I've gotten a lot more into them. But yeah, I knew they were popular, but I never really listened to them that much. Growing up, I listened a lot to Green Day, so it's weird that I didn't listen to Blink-182 that much. But yeah, I'm starting to really love them. Dude Ranch is amazing. It's honestly one of my favorite albums right now. So yeah, going on to my third album, it's a little bit of a different genre. We're going into the metal territory, but it is Show No Mercy by Slayer. Now, again, I liked the album when I first heard it. It's not that I didn't like any of these, but they didn't hit me. They didn't have like that big of an impact. I was just like, it's fun, it's good, I like it, but it's not, it's fun, it's good, I like it, but it's not quite hitting me. It doesn't seem that, pivotal, that important. So I was just like, I gotta try it again because it was good, but nothing really stuck with me. But yeah, after giving it a few tries and a few listens, I started realizing that this is an amazing album. That is an absolute classic. Now, I was comparing it to basically with Kill 'Em All because I started listening to Metallica. I mean, I had already listened to them, but I wanted to go through the albums like all the way through. So I got Kill 'Em All, and I was listening to that, and that didn't hit immediately either, but I eventually started to like it. But with Show No Mercy, I was like, you know what? It's not quite as good as Kill 'Em All at first. I was thinking that, but like obviously, the more I listened to it, I was like, wow, it is. It pretty much it is head and heels above Kill 'Em All. Now I love Kill 'Em All; it's a great album, but Show No Mercy is just a damn classic. It has so many insane riffs. Every single song is just filled with the craziest, amazing riffs you can ever imagine. The track list never lets up. I actually have this one right here. Yeah, the Antichrist, Die by the Sword, Fight Till Death, and then probably, I guess it's hard to say which one is my favorite. I think for sure it's between Die by the Sword and Metal Storm, Face the Slayer. But right after that, you got Black Magic, Tormentor, The Final Command, Cryonics, and I think the title track, Show No Mercy, I think it gets a little bit lost in the track list, but it's a banger too. So there are no bad points in this album at all. It is strong all the way through. And then the album cover, gosh, it's a classic. But yeah, it's definitely early Slayer. It's not as I mean, it's pretty dark, but it's not as dark in terms of the themes, I guess, as like Repentless, but it's pretty dark. But I would say, the main thing here is the riffs. The solos are not as intense and crazy as other albums, but the solos here are extremely good, especially the Die by the Sword solo. At least, well, that's the thing, there's multiple solos in every song, but pretty much every song, I think. But yeah, the solo in Die by the Sword just has like an awesome effect. There's just so many moments. This is, to me, this is better than Kill 'Em All, and it's really not even close. This is definitely the best debut album between Metallica, Slayer, and Megadeth. It's definitely the best debut. But yeah, it's just so heavy. And what's interesting to me is that a lot of these songs are literally just in standard tuning, which is just crazy for a metal band like this. To have these songs be that heavy, man, and evil sounding. A lot of their other songs are in other tunings and a lot of from other metal bands, but a lot of this is in standard tuning. And gosh, it's just crazy how they got it to be so heavy. But anyway, those are my 3 albums right now that I didn't get at first, but grew to love. Now, let me know if you have any that you had the same experience with. I'd love to hear about it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I love talking about albums. It's a lot of fun. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.